Welcome to the Sober Unicorn. We are a gay-hosted, all-inclusive podcast about sobriety and addiction recovery for the LGBT plus community and all of our allies. I am your host, Holden, and thank you for joining us today. Well, hey, everybody, it's Holden back here again with the Sober Unicorn. Hopefully everybody is doing absolutely fantabulous, and if you're not, I hope your day gets better, and I'm always an email or a message away on Instagram to talk. Today we are joined by an interesting guest again. I mean, all of our guests are interesting with their stories and their industries that they work in, but this one I am actually very excited for. So everybody say hello to Beck. How are you, Beck?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing fabulous. Just packing up, getting ready to move, recording podcast episodes, and trying to stay sober another day.
I heard that totally. I can relate to that.
So why don't you tell everybody, of course, who you are, where you're from, and like how long you've been sober?
well, um, my name's Beck. My pronouns are he and they. And let's see here. I live in Salida, Colorado. I was born in California, but I've been in Colorado for quite some time now. And but yeah, let's see here. What would you like to know about me? Let's see.
Well,
See
how
here. Let
long have
me.
you been sober?
Oh yeah, that's right. I was like, what was that next question? Let's see here. So I've been sober. Well, I'd say my official sober date is on 420. It's not. It's that wasn't planned, but it's 420 of 2019, and so in April I'll be sober 4 years. And then I've been sober from narcotics for about I think 15 years. Um, and then I don't know if you like there's so many things you can become addicted to, but cigarettes was definitely one of the one things that I partook in for a really long time. So I'm clean from nicotine of like I think I'd say like 5 years or something. See here.
That's good.
My,
That's actually one of my struggles still to this day is nicotine.
it's better than some things, I like to say. And like we were talking earlier, I really I mean I will help you get it if it means you not getting the other stuff, if you know what I mean. um I joined a recovery group um that you know some are struggling and some are in recovery, long-term recovery. And I would definitely support them smoking tobacco or even pot any day, even go out and get it for them, if it meant the alternative, So, yeah, I support it. I always say it's better than some things.
Oh, most definitely. If anybody hears any kids in the background, Beck is outside and he lives close to a park. So ignore the kids in the background. You may hear that throughout the episode. So,
Oh
kind
yeah.
of, why don't you give everybody a quick like story on what got you into sobriety and how life was before being sober?
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to be sober. Of course, it's a long journey, and I'm sure you can relate to this. It just took me a while to really understand that that was going to be my path. I mean, I went through all of it, everything everywhere from um let's see here, not thinking I had a problem to wanting to quit, but maybe partially, maybe I could dabble here and there. But in turn, in the end, I realized, especially from kind of opening my eyes to my history in it with addiction and my past, it was time. Excuse the gigantic truck driving by. They're having a good time, I'm sure. Um, I can't afford that much gas, but anyway, so yeah, so it was a long time coming, but one day I just realized I wanted to be sober, and that's when I realized I was super dependent on the alcohol and or drugs, but it was definitely alcohol right before I became, I guess, abstinent. Now I don't know if abstinence means zero caffeine. If that's the case, then I'm not abstinent. I'm fully hooked on coffee. But yeah, I definitely have my sugar and caffeine, but I'm abstinent from everything else. I like to say, but yeah, it's been a journey. I grew up around addicts and hung out with addicts, and even started making alcohol as a profession, and turned out I was pretty good at it. And so I got to live in that kind of highly libated world with alcohol, and it being totally normal, etc. And so yeah, I don't know. And so despite all that, despite being around it and seeing it as a normal thing all the time, the one or two sober people I would meet, I totally looked up to. I thought they were just like wonderful human beings, like they glowed. Like I thought they were the raddest people. And so, yeah, despite not being able to sober up because I was dependent on it, I knew eventually I wanted to be sober. And yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's going back to your job. I think that's why you're one of the more unique guests that I've had here, because you literally make booze as a career, but yet you abstain from booze, and you have been for 4.5 years. So how how do you? I would say I understand it's a career path, and of course everybody needs to have a job, but how do you morally make this stuff and go, please drink my stuff, but yet know that like it could be very harmful and detrimental for people?
Yeah, I honestly, when I first started distilling, I was 23 or so, and I just really needed a job. And so I like to say my heart was in the right spot. Like, I was destined to be a distiller. That's what I wanted to do, but that really wasn't the case at first. I knew I didn't want to work in the food industry anymore. I mean, initially I wanted to be a paramedic, and long story short, I was couch surfing a lot when I was a kid, so I ended up in the food industry, and so it kind of like went on from there to where I ended up becoming a distiller about almost 10 years ago. And and it was really because I needed some money that my stepfather wasn't giving me. I was building like cedar post fences and stuff on this farm right before I got a distillation job. So I lucked out, within a month of that career, I ended up learning the mechanics of distillation, fermentation, barreling, the whole thing. And even then I wasn't even really partaking in alcohol that much. I've always had kind of an addictive mindset, and I always told myself after quitting narcotics I wouldn't become addicted to anything else again. But little did I know I was addicted to other things during that time. You know, I don't know if getting myself in a bad relationship was one of them, but I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But I had other habits, and but alcohol, you know, the alcohol addiction didn't come till later, especially when you have ladles of it at your disposal. But I did end up liking my job, and I ended up having quite the passion for it, and I think it was because it was more of like a puzzle and a kind of like chemically inclined on the scientific kind of level that I always kind of digged, like I just had that like alchemist fetish. No, I'm just kidding. But like I just like I'm just kidding. I don't know if that exists. Anyways, it does now. No.
I mean, we
Anyways.
don't kink shame here.
Yeah, nerds represent, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, and so for me, not having a proper education, I guess growing up, it was cool to like work in a job that kind of gave me that satisfaction of knowing something. And so and I put all of my all into it, reading and studying every night. I wanted to be like the best at it, and I learned a lot from it. And so I also ended up drinking too much of it, and I became really dependent of it. So I learned a lot of self worth, and I met a lot of new people, and met some sober friends along the way that accepted me and my job. And then one day I just quit, and I'd say it, I would say it just happened out of nowhere, but really I had met my current partner and her daughter, now my daughter, about the time frame I quit. So when you wake up next to a 5-year-old sleeping next to you with your new partner, it really changes a lot in your head. And if I was waiting for a green light, which when I was alone working at a distillery, I didn't care to quit, even though I knew I needed to. That was the green light. Like I was like, okay, it's time. Now I have something to kind of push me forward. You should always do it for you, but that's what it was gonna take. And it really, that's what happened. And I got really lucky, and I had someone there to kind of tell me that I wasn't having a heart attack in recovery the first week. And so like damn, you know, I got lucky with that too. And so I never looked back since, of course. But I kind of derailed a little bit. I definitely want to get back to the work thing. So during that first month of recovery, I had all these emotions of whether if I could. My first plan was to just not drink for a week. Like for me, that I had never done in so many years. So I did that, and then I thought, well, I'm gonna do it another week. And during that second week, I totally skipped past the day 3, which I'm sure we all know day 3. That's when day 3 was trying to convince me to drink, and I was like, nah, nope, nope. Just I have a plan, and I'm gonna stick to it. And it's really important to have that plan because of that. Anyway, so within that month, I had to go back to work. I was grateful my boss was cool with me taking the first 3 days off because of the matter. I was so nervous telling my coworkers, etc., about it, and they were fully supportive, 100%. Like they even drank more than me, and they were like, "Hell yeah, like don't do it," And I was just so grateful for that. And within that month, I would say I would have to harvest some gin out of a barrel, and I would take like a tiny sip, and then it would slip me into this huge like panic attack. And then I'd go home hours later. I'm talking like 8 hours later, drinking water, etc. And my partner, after brushing my teeth, going to bed, my partner would say, "Oh, I can smell alcohol on you," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," like on my clothes because it reeks in there in my workplace. And she's like, "No, on your breath." And that's what when you smell alcohol in someone's breath hours later, then it's in their bloodstream. So I panicked again. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, and so there was just this huge like I wasn't able to do the small amounts. Like that's when I learned that I was like not that person, and I clearly have an addiction. And so yeah, I decided after day 30 of not drinking, I wanted to be completely sober for like ever, and like forever. And I don't even want to see relapse as a it's not an option for me because I keep telling myself that. So I'm going to continue to do that because it's my path that I formulated. But yeah, how much did I derail?
No, not not much. I mean, I wish I would have told myself that relapse is not an option for me because I honestly eventually saw it coming because of my brain.
Oh,
But um, so of
no, for
course,
sure.
before the episode, we discussed that you're going to be actually leaving your current like job. So do you feel that sobriety had a huge impact on you choosing to leave the distillery industry?
Yeah, I 50-50. You know, a lot of it is this new job has a really good opportunity with like benefits and again not having that good education. Like they're willing to pay for me to become an addictions technician, and they're just super accommodating. And so and so yeah, like I do think it has had a huge effect because I basically did a pop-up. So I served non-alcoholic drinks in my little side gig. um, and so I did a pop up for their grand opening for this new behavioral health and addictions clinic. And I met a lot of people that were like minded or had struggled, or and it was just so refreshing because normally I would do tastings at alcoholic events for whiskey tastings and stuff. And so doing events, like sober events at sober, locations with sober people, like it was really cool. And so it was like ever since I got sober, there was something new about sobriety that really turned me onto it even more and more and more and more. And so, being a part of the libation society or like heavily involved, especially in this town, now it's starting to change, but like prior to my sober date, I felt like, especially before COVID, Trigger warning. Anyways, so there was a lot of people drinking, um, and so I felt like there was a lack of non-alcoholic options at the time. Now that's kind of changing amongst America and everywhere. The non-alcoholic bars are starting to pop up everywhere, which is nice. But I'd say I think it was almost 2 years ago. I was like, you know what? There needs to be a non-alcoholic option for people to go to, or at least even like just to know it exists. Like I may not be able to set up pop-up everywhere or start a bar in an official establishment, but knowing that it's happening and evolving and possibly could come to fruition is like what means so much. And so that's when I started my little non-alcoholic bar. I'm calling it like NAAF drinks by Rock Bottom. I'm calling it Rock Bottom, ironically, mostly, because either people were telling me I wasn't going to make enough money doing that because there's no alcohol involved. So I was like, well, I must have really hit rock bottom. Or, there's always this severe negative invitation to hitting rock bottom, or that it needs to, or that you need to hit rock bottom to become sober. And so there's just so many things with rock bottom, just that term that led me to just naming my sober bar rock bottom. But everyone in Salida has called it the sober.salida.bar. That's the handle, on Instagram. So like, because that's what was available. Rock bottom isn't really, a unique name. So I wasn't the first to pick it. So I chose sober Salida bar, and that's what everyone calls it. And I'm kind of making peace with that. You know, I had someone be like, well, we really want to put a normalcy to, non-alcoholic drinks, and I get that. Like, I don't want to call them mocktails or anything like that too much. I'm not like totally a stiffler on that, but they wanted to see if I could like remove sober in the terminology to make it more normal. And it, while that's valid, I totally get it. I felt like I didn't want to do that because I do want people to see that it is a sober bar. Like we need to have more representation of that, especially right now where there isn't a lot of that. Now maybe in the future when it becomes so normal to get a NA drink, without alcohol, then maybe, I don't know. But
Yeah, I mean, there's a friend of mine in recovery. He just started at a place that has a whole NA menu,
yeah,
as well as their normal, of course, alcohol menu. But
sweet.
it's cool because I mean, I would totally recommend you making like a drink cookbook in a way,
Sweet.
mix whatever cocktail book, because when I go to parties now and I want to bring something that's non-alcoholic, the only thing that comes to my fucking head is the Martinelli's like sparkling apple cider. That's
Yeah.
like that's the only thing that I can even think of because I myself do not do the mocktail gin and whiskeys,
Oh yeah.
um, because to me it's like it's not going to give me the drunk feeling, but it wasn't always for the drunk feeling, but it's that sensation of alcohol, like that burn and stuff like that. And some sober people need that, and that's why those drink options are available to
Oh yeah.
everybody. But
Yeah.
I
I've
feel
tried
it'll
those.
spiral me out of control again.
Those spirits, I mean, they're getting really good. There's some really good companies out there that are making them really nice and tasty. At first, I was against it. It was probably because I tried one. I won't name what it was, but it tasted like spicy water, and it wasn't enough. Because you go from making gin with a lot of flavor, and then you go to non-alcoholic gin where it just tastes like spicy water, and not in a good way, not like spicy Sprite by any means. Like it's like just spicy water, you know.
But but the thing is, who chooses to drink gin? I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
it's
I
like a very small percentage, I think, of drinkers that are like, "Ooh, yes, let me go get some good old gin."
if I have to make gin, I'll make it good, and not to toot my own horn. I'm really good at that. Unfortunately, unfortunately, fortunately, I'm really good at that. And no, and it's just like I think I just like to cook and make things and make it taste good. And so that's when I realized too, and at the end of my distilling career, that it turns out I like puzzles. I like sharing food or something tasty with the community and chatting with people. and getting super geeky with that kind of process. So like, how can I do that without alcohol? And I really think the sober bar kind of like suffices that, you know, that need for community and sharing something with people, like sharing your meal that you made, you know. That's how I grew up, you know, sharing food with family. So it's like, or others. And so that really satisfies my need. And then also trying to curate, you know, gin without alcohol, like you're just making like a gin tea, I guess. um and that
So
tastes better. Yeah.
with the sober bar, of course, you being classified as sober bar pop up, you are catering it to sober people, but how many people that actually still drink came to support and actually try it out? I mean, do you find that it was
Like everyone.
okay, so it wasn't
Like,
strictly only sober people.
no, and it's great. Like honestly, like I'd say there was a really big one I did for a burlesque party. It was like a Halloween burlesque show. It was super sweet. I had my own little spot by the piano. You know, it was kind of set apart from the bar, and they were worried about that. They were wondering if that would take away from my business, and I was like, no, I like like ironically my whiskey from my last job was at the bar, but like I was over here in another corner. And you know, there was a few drunk people that were just like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. Like, you know, they're like, I really want like this but at the bar. Like, and I it was a great bar, don't get me wrong, but they were saying that they're like, you can't even really tell that this is like not alcoholic. And I'd be like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, it just tastes super like fancy. And I'm like, what? Like, you know, like you got like your citrus notes. Like for me personally, the game would be to implement like citrus notes, a little bit of sweetness. I like the dry, you know, like dryness, mouth feel. It's an experience, you know, in a cup that isn't just like Dr. Pepper or which I have Dr. Pepper. I got some today. Anyways, or you know, orange juice or like water or you know, the soda water you can get in cans or LaCroix or anything like that, which is great. But you know, you just want something more complicated and fancy to hold on to at an event like that.
So
And
what would
yeah,
be your favorite NA drink to make and tell everybody how to make it?
I can tell you how to make it. I have a couple that are fan favorites. I say that like four people. I have four fans. No, I'm just kidding. My fans, nah. Let's see here. So you know what's funny? The one that I tried, I had to come up with another drink. One pop up last minute. You know, it was. I had high anxiety. I was super nervous. I even broke my back window because I was shutting the door on the door or on the table I was using. And I just like, I was like, what the hell? Anyways, so I had to come up with a drink that was easy to make just so I could have more options on the menu. And I discovered Groovy's Dry Secco, which I like talking with them. They're super nice people. With ease, they were like, yeah, get on our wholesale. Like they're just super kind people. And anyway, so they produce a really good product. You know, they have like hoppy, they have like a hopped up IPA beer, you know, which I've soaked my like brats and food in. You know what I'm saying? Like you can have really cool barbecues still now. You know, so they have a dry secco. So rather than prosecco, which I used to love, uh, they have a dry secco, and it's pretty spot on. It's really it's dry, it's sour, it's really nice and complicated. So I knew I could make like a Bellini or like a mimosa of a sort. Like I needed something just to have on my menu, and everything was calling for like peach puree or like, you know, a strawberry puree. But I really wanted it to be unique, and I really wanted something sour, and so I decided to puree a bunch of kiwis, and then I
Ooh.
thought, and so I topped it like so you do okay. Here it is. You get the dry secco, all right. You got your cup, right? Cups are great, and you fill it with ice. You top most of your cup with the dry secco, and then you top your your drink with the puree kiwi. But now, so when I did that, I found it to be too sour, and it was great, but it was too sour. So I decided to cut it with raw honey. And so what I'll do is I'll puree the kiwi in a blender, a bunch of kiwis. I peel them, of course. I'm giving you all the details, and I'm not afraid. So I give you, so you put all the kiwis peeled in the blender, and you add raw honey, and you just do it to taste, really. I fill up a blender, so I do half like a jug of like honey, and yeah. So it kind of cuts that sourness back down. And while that was supposed to be my easy drink, it ended up being like everyone's favorite. There's like, can I live in that puree? How did you do that? And I'm like, it's just honey and kiwi. And they're like, what? Like, we're gonna start doing that with our drinks, like. And so, oh, now it's getting hot. But so that's the easy one, I'd say. I ended up getting a CO2 injector, like for water, to make my own soda water, and that's been a game changer. Like I like to get some orange juice, and I'll steep some hops, like fresh hops, in the orange juice for a while. And I do like a cold steep. I don't even boil it. Like I just let it sit for a while or even overnight, and I'll strain the hops out, and then I'll CO2 inject that, the juice, and it's a really nice hoppy citrus, like if you're ever craving a hazy IPA but with like extra orange, like that, that's a that's something one day I definitely want to make. I
You
think.
need to figure out. So in Austria, I think it was, it was a radler. It's kind of
Yeah.
like lemonade and beer mixed, and of course I was searching for it forever. I couldn't ever find it, but now that I'm sober, I'm like, shit, I still want it, but I can't, of course. Um, and so I need to figure out a way to like make a lemonade mix without, of course, alcohol.
Yeah. So that CO2 injector really, like, you can sodify anything really. And I don't know if I recommend anything, but orange juice and juice is super fun to soda inject. Um, I made I went inside, by the way. It has a different sound. Hope that's okay. I'm not getting attacked by wasps anymore, or flies. But yeah, yeah, no, that's a game changer. Like, just like trying to, you could like create your own tea or like your own infusion, and then you can CO2 inject that. You can add a little bit of like agave syrup. Like, it's really just fun to think about, like, what do you think tastes good? And it's like cooking, but it's not. It's drink mixing. It's drinkology. I'm not sure what
Of course. Well, I
mixology.
mean, knowing you being somewhat like becoming an expert in the NA drink realm, of course, the holidays are coming up. We have
Mm-hmm.
Halloween coming up. We have Christmas, Thanksgiving, all these holidays. I mean, what's something that people in the sober realm can take with them that's easy that will
It's
help them
festive.
get through these holidays?
Well, I if if you're not into NA beers, like, something that has like 0.20 or less alcohol or anything like that, I'm making up a pumpkin hot chocolate, super easy. My preferred way is to use like abuelita chocolate or cocoa powder with oat milk and a crock pot, and like you put all the pumpkin whole spices. I don't use ground. That way I can, take them out without any weird chunks. But anyway, so that's something you can do. That's fancy. It's not just hot chocolate, and it's easy. Now, if you're okay with NA stuff, again, I got to go back to the Groovy, and I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I just like, from my experience, it's just what I had access to here at the liquor store. So I kind of formulated some recipes with that. They have a stout that's stellar. That's awesome. It's not. It's like really chocolatey and kind of coffee like. And so again, I don't like to just drink NA beers. I like to incorporate it for my drinks. And so I like to add I'll mix it with caramel, and I'll do like a caramel salted rim. I'll add even extra chocolate syrup to it, and so I make my own like iced like chocolate stout. And I don't even know what it's called. Like, how do I even relate it to anything if I just made it up? But like, it's super nice. Like, I wish I could show you. Um, I have a photo on my account that actually has it, and my partner and I have another business called Rosie's Donuts, and so she was able to make like mini donuts for the rim of that, drink. So it was like super like Christmas festive, and it was nice. I mean, donuts are festive anytime, almost too convenient.
Hey,
anytime.
donuts are like, I'm of course I'm a fat boy. If anybody's seen my Instagram, they know I'm fat. So like ice
Right.
cream is okay, cake is okay, but like I will freaking bite your hand off for a donut. Like for
Yeah,
some whatever reason, like those are my weakness.
I'm realizing that that's the case for a lot of people. Uh, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I probably had 4 or 5 crawlers the other day, and I had like a period where I didn't eat any donuts for like 3 months. This is how I know I'm an addict. You know, I'm like thinking about it every day, and and I'm like, okay, I'm doing really good. And of course, after 3 months, one day I just ate 5 of them, and I was like, is that the addict in me, or is it just because they're donuts and they're awesome?
Yeah, and talking about NA beers too, there are a few out now that actually have 0.0%.
Oh yeah,
Um, I know
yeah.
Heineken has one. I think Bud Light is coming just came out with one, if I'm not mistaken.
That or even
But
Pap.
I have had the Bud Light, I mean the Heineken one, and let me tell you, that was like on point with the exact flavor of Heineken. But
It's almost like better.
yeah, I mean, I drank it, but moving forward, I chose not to continue because I my thought was like, okay, for one, I'm still paying $7 for this damn thing at a bar, and I was like, why am I gonna drink this unless I'm just gonna get fucked up? And let's just do the real thing. So,
I like to joke and call it barley soda,
so
like
I
wheat
just
soda.
I'm more into like the fruity mocktails, but less without the
Yeah,
fake gin or fake bourbon and anything like that, because I
yeah,
just feel the burn and sensation
yeah,
will want me to go back and start drinking again.
exactly.
So we discussed in a previous episode how there's so many avenues and ways to get sober. So when you got sober, did you seek out fellowships? Did you do it yourself? I mean, how did you manage? How did you manage to get sober?
Well, I did have my partner support the first week when it came to like panic attacks or wondering if I'm, having a heart attack, and a lot of it was anxiety. I mean, I definitely went through withdrawal, and it was hard. It wasn't as hard as cutting back on narcotics and drugs at the time, 15 years ago, but it's its own kind of hard because or difficult, hard or difficult. Yeah. Anyways, not to talk about things that are hard or anything. Anyways, I uh, I have a problem. Anyway, so I went through that, and it was its own special kind of difficulty because it is something that I developed in time rather than taking it the first time and being 100% hooked. So I feel like in a weird way it takes more time to kind of gradually cut back on, and but it's all relative. Like if I had to compare sobriety or recovery from drugs or alcohol, they're very similar, and it's just the addictive mindset and anxiety that comes with it. And so I knew a couple sober friends. Some I had easier access to than some. Um, I think it kind of became COVID times shortly after I sobered up, and I had a lot of online access to people, Instagram accounts, all sorts of things. I had kind of like a 12-step book for the agnostic folk or something. I forgot what it's called. Even that I couldn't handle. So like personally, my path is definitely different, and everyone's path is definitely different. And so I tried doing AA via Zoom because we weren't doing in person stuff. And while whereas I met a lot of great people there, it wasn't my style, my thing. I actually felt like I was going to relapse at any moment when I was actually in it, and I talked about this last night. I was just like, yeah, AA for me personally was not. If anything, it was more of a trigger, and that's okay. Like, if it's a trigger to you, it is. It doesn't mean it's not. It is, and so you got to get away from that. And so I did, and I've never felt better since. So it's like, they're just different things for everybody, and then trying to realize that you can shape your own path, I think is the most important. Like, and of course, I think I kind of got forced into that idea because I was a distiller and I was surrounded by all sorts of people, and that then I learned that everybody's path is different. So, where someone might not have agreed with me being a distiller and also being sober, there would also be someone who totally understood it and thought it like made sense together. Even for me, I just I don't know. I feel like I kind of dabbled with all forms of recovery, like just to see, just to explore and especially when I was new. But in the end, I realized that I can only convince myself to be sober. And like we were talking about cravings last night, it's like if I'm ever at a point where I'm craving, like the worst point of trying not to relapse or being sober is when you start shaming yourself. And so there's a lot of psychological things that happen that are probably the root cause of your addiction, or that will lead you back to relapse. And so knowing that and being aware of the cause and the root cause is, like, I think, the most important. You could do the whole take 10 minutes, sip water, just let time pass. Seconds feels like a lifetime. So you really just want to spend time and really just try and calm down. But sometimes it's a week, it's a month long. You never know how long this like phase of you wanting to go back to not being sober may last. So it's just really trying to focus on your health and understanding where it's coming from. Again, I can't elaborate more on that. I'm pretty good at elaborating on things if you can't tell.
Of
uh,
course. I mean, I think again, like just I mean, I've said it so many times in previous episodes, and in case this is your first episode listening, whether you're in AA, NA, CMA, SOAA, like the most important thing you could take away from any sobriety journey is finding somebody else in sobriety to talk
yeah,
to. I
yeah,
mean, the community, you don't have to deal with this alone. I mean, whether you ever step into a meeting, that does not matter. Like, type in hashtag sober on Instagram and just
even that.
write somebody. Like, the community, like, this is one community I would say, no matter where you are in life, there's somebody there to talk to that is a
Hmm.
non-judgmental person that is
Yeah,
open and willing to talk and listen and just give advice that'll just help you better yourself. So
yeah. See,
there's
I'm not surprised you have a podcast. Like when I see you, I know we're listening to you, but I can also see you. Yep, I got that perk. I trust you. Like I would want you in my sober circle. Like you have kindness, you have experience, you have depth because of what you went through. Like you would be definitely a part of my tribe if you welcome me
of
yourself.
course,
Uh,
and I'd be looking at a hot mess too right now.
no, but I just like I'm not surprised that you have this podcast because I can see you just being 100% like supportive for so many different people in wakes of life. Like you're not just one way or the highway type of person.
And
So
that's why I started the podcast. I found other more LGBT centered podcasts. I'm not gonna name names or down any of them, but some of them were very anti program 12 step. Other ones were strictly gay and strictly AA. And it's like there's
yeah,
again so many ways to get sober. There are so many unrepresented groups, and so it's like
hmm
most podcasts I find about sobriety are only about AA, like or
hmm
alcohol. And it's like, what about the opioids? What about the sex? What about the marijuana? What about crystal meth? And then
oh yeah,
it's like I don't. And the thing is, for my podcast too, is I don't care whether you're gay, straight. Yes, I try to have a little bit more gay representation, um,
have pride.
but I who cares what walk of life you come from? You have a story to tell, and like I just want to be the platform, not me be the platform, but have the platform in order to allow anybody to come on and
Yeah,
share their journey and try to help somebody. Because I told all my friends, like, the reason I started this is like, if I can help one person get sober, then
hmm
this is the reason that we have the podcast is to just help people out there that are still struggling or in active addiction or outside of active or sober and help them maintain sobriety. Um,
exactly.
So before we come to a close, is there anything that you haven't said that you would like to say? Tell everybody.
Oh, there's so much. If you know me on a personal level, an hour goes by really quick in my world, and in some cases, I do open up towards the end. Even I've been known to do that, but no, I think we've covered a lot of stuff. Of course I'll come up with more stuff when we're done, but like just finding your tools and your path on your own is it's so validating. And if no path is the same, then go for it. Like make it your own. I mean, shit, I got sober being a distiller, and you know what, I'd be lying if I said that my mocktail gig wasn't holding me accountable. Like there was a point right before I started it that I needed a tool, another tool besides my family and myself and other things. Like I started learning that I like to help people, and I felt like starting that business would really suffice that need, and it makes me feel good. I feel like there are times when if I can't do it for myself, I start thinking about all the tools, like my family or my twin sister or my uh the mocktail pop up. Like I try not to use the term mocktail, but you get it. So, and then, I finally got the confidence to finally actually go into, recovery as a actual career here soon. And, you are worth it. Like in the end, what I'm trying to say is you are worth it. Even when you don't feel like you are like, you really are a gem, and no one you'll never know that, sometimes. And it is really our self-worth and shame that really puts us in dark spaces. But damn, you are capable of so much more, regardless of status or money or where you came from or what you might end up doing. You are so powerful, like right now. And
Exactly. I mean, as you say, you're a gem. Sometimes some of these bitches just need to be polished off a little bit.
yeah. It's wild how that's the case. And when you really start even gaining a little bit of confidence, it doesn't have to be 100%. Like things just kind of magically happen for you. And I think sobriety really is just kind of magical in that sense. um Good things do happen to you, even though there are hard times that you got a raw dog sober, and deal with. But damn, is it so much better than the alternative?
I can't. I can't get over the term raw dog.
If I get too comfortable, that's pretty mild for me.
Oh my gosh. Well, same here. I mean, most of my friends, I'm real crazy, but anywho, but you have a wonderful rest of your evening. I don't know
You,
what time it is there, but
I don't know.
I don't know either. It's 2 o'clock Texas time. That's all I know.
Oh, there you go. Okay, one here.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful night, Beck.
Yes, I love chatting with you. I look forward to talking to you again.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you again for listening to today's episode. Hit that follow button to be notified about new episodes every week. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram at The Sober Unicorn Podcast or on our website at thesoberunicornpodcast.com. There you will find our episodes as well as our very own sober-owned shop featuring products from small businesses that are sober-owned. And remember everyone, don't be normal, be a unicorn, but better yet, be a sober unicorn.